Hello, everyone. My name is Jillian Schaefer, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Critical Questions to Ask Before Automating Accounts Payable by Daryl Boyd, who is our Sales Director ISC for AvidXchange. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise down. However, you can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar. To submit a question, look for the question section in your GoToWebinar. We will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording this presentation and it will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees as well as those who registered but were not able to attend. Please take a moment at the end of the presentation to answer our poll. With that said, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to attend our webinar. We're here to help you get the most out of your software solutions and help you find an easier way to run your business by providing you software and industry knowledge, tools, and support whenever you need it. We've invited our AvidXchange team here today because AvidXchange is the industry expert on AP automation. We will also be raffling off a $50 Amazon gift card after the webinar. To those who select, I'd like to see a customized demo of AvidXchange during our poll. So whether you're here doing research for a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions throughout the webinar. Lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels. So we encourage you to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Daryl.
Thank you, Jolene. Hi, everyone. Here's our agenda for today. We'll start with a definition of exactly what AP automation is. We'll share critical questions you should ask before automating. We'll talk about AP automation specifically in the context of how AvidXchange does it. And then we'll wrap up with a quick poll to find out the best way to follow up with you and spend some time in Q&A. But first, let's start with how the world of accounts payable is rapidly changing. Of course, security is of the utmost importance. We're in a new era where employees want to increase their value and not just push paper. Outsourced services have become a common way of doing business. Companies are looking to grow without having to add additional headcount, and online, mobile, and real-time information are must-haves, especially during times like this, where going into the office might not be an option. When we look at some of the current customer challenges in AP, paper checks are still the norm, with most business-to-business volume in the US still paid by this method, and it's actually around 80% for businesses under 25 million in revenue. While cost estimates for processing a traditional check vary considerably, we found that businesses spend roughly $3 to $7 per check, which includes both supplies such as postage and envelopes as well as labor costs. B2B admin costs associated with this antiquated process are estimated at $2.7 trillion annually, and AP personnel spend much of their time on routine tasks. In addition, companies that still rely on paper checks must increasingly be vigilant about fraud, which is on the rise, with almost 3/4 of companies having experienced actual or attempted check fraud. So what is AP automation? With AP automation, you gain a mix of software and services that facilitate streamlining your accounts payable function by removing manual tasks and paper. AP automation provides greater visibility and security over transactions while enhancing reporting and cash flow management. Next, we're going to talk about AP automation and whether or not it's a good fit for your organization. When considering AP automation, we recommend that you consider these basic questions. 1, is AP automation even a good fit for my organization? Will AP automation change the process that we currently have in place? How will AP automation work with our current accounting system? How does AP automation impact profitability? And what is the implementation process? Some factors that you'll want to evaluate in your process is transaction volumes to start. It takes a significant amount of time and energy to process a single invoice or payment in a predominantly manual system. If you have less than 100 invoices or payments per month, you might be able to keep pace. but we typically start to see errors and inefficiencies in the process more consistently at larger volumes, above 100 or so per month. In terms of process, are you processing all or some of your invoices manually? And how much time are you spending to do this? Bottlenecks. Paper-based processes are heavily reliant upon other factors, not the least of which is mail, which is slow and is not nearly as secure and dependable as an automated process. Company status. If your company is humming along at a consistent speed, you might feel okay with keeping the status quo. But if your company is fortunate enough to be in a scale-up mode, you're likely debating whether or not you need to expand your accounting department to handle the mounting workload, or find a way to free your people from so much manual data entry and put their time to more strategic use. Next, we'll talk about how or if automation will change the AP process that you currently have in place. Now, it's extremely important to map out the processes you currently have in place so you can identify exactly what inefficiencies exist and what causes them in order to determine if automating can properly address them. You'll also need to understand what parts of the process are sacred to you and how an automation solution may impact your visibility and control. Manually processing invoices and payments requires many steps, including opening mail, routing invoices, coding line items, seeking approvals, entering data, cutting checks, applying postage, and mailing payments. All these steps are costing your business time and money. The right automation tools should ease your workload and streamline the process by taking over the tasks you'd rather not do, like manual data entry, filing paper invoices, and stuffing envelopes, while keeping control over routing and approvals in your hands. Ideally, all you'll have to do is code, approve, and select for payment. To better understand the benefits of automated accounts payable solutions, it's important to look at the similarities and the differences of the two methods for handling accounts payable. This can also help you identify bottlenecks in your own process that can be solved with automation. The accounts payable process begins when your invoice is received by the AP department. Invoices can arrive through many different methods, including electronically through email, or by fax, snail mail, inter-office deliveries, or maybe even a colleague dropping paperwork in an inbox on your desk. Once invoices are received, they are physically handed to an AP manager or a team member, or forwarded if they came in via email. Next, the invoices are manually typed into an accounting system and may be scanned in as well to create a digital record. This is the best case scenario and assumes an enterprise resource planning or ERP system is in place. However, it still offers plenty of opportunity for manual errors and typos. Well, this is life after automation or after AvidXchange. So anywhere you see a green and gray box is where software or services step in to automate that manual task. The blue circles represent any step that is unique or critical to your business where you still maintain 100% control. Now, this doesn't mean that we don't have tools to automate this, such as smart coding. However, you still have 100% control over exactly which GL you are coding invoices to. A couple of things to note here. AvidXchange is software as a service based. So as long as you can access the web, you can access AvidXchange. It's also mobile responsive. So regardless of what device you're using, a cell phone, tablet, or desktop, the system will optimize to that unique device. So no app is required, and that eliminates the need for development and helps to keep costs down. Next up, how does AP automation impact your bottom line? Manual, inefficient accounts payable processes cost you a fortune, but it doesn't have to. When you eliminate tedious and error-prone manual data entry, you free up valuable resources and make a direct and significant impact on your organization's bottom line. Additionally, by integrating your accounts payable data into your wider business intelligence activities, the benefits are even greater. Everyone wants to know the potential return on investment, or ROI, from a new solution, as well they should. But don't forget that the cost of your current system is an equally important factor in that ROI equation. Hard costs from tangible items like stamps, envelopes, and checks might seem inconsequential in isolation, but combined as a recurring expense in high volumes, they can add up to a significant spend. There are also soft costs to consider in accounts payable. After all, you're paying your employees for their time, much of which is tied up in tedious tasks to manually process and execute payments. Consider the value to be gained if people could spend more time on strategic and impactful business objectives rather than, say, stuffing checks and envelopes. Part of the reason so much time is spent on a manual AP process is the constant need to double check figures. Human error is a constant threat in manual procedures. In fact, the Institute of Finance and Management revealed that typically about 3.5% of supplier invoices include errors. AP automation is an effective way to eliminate errors, and in fact, Ardent Partners found that automation can improve accuracy and lighten the workload by nearly 50%. Ultimately, AP automation can benefit your organization in a number of ways. You eliminate paper invoices and checks. You can offload manual labor, shorten the invoice approval process, improve visibility across departments, reduce risk of check fraud, and eliminate errors such as duplicate payments. Next up, how does AP automation support your business continuity plan? Many business continuity scenarios include not having access to an office or a lack of electricity in an office. Alternatively, staffers might have to stay in their homes, as is the case now with the pandemic. In the past, lifting and shifting of business operations for business continuity included paying for hot sites that served as an insurance policy. AP automation, however, provides a central hub for payment-related files where firms can check payment and approval history, as well as inspect records themselves. Firms also gain 24/7 access, customized workflows, and solid reporting with an AP automation solution. If we look at the state of business continuity today, AvidXchange recently took a poll about business continuity and found that nearly 34% of companies surveyed either have no business continuity plan in place or a plan that they wouldn't consider comprehensive in the face of an unpredictable natural disaster or emergency. Also, less than half have a business continuity plan that accounts for an emergency across multiple geographic areas simultaneously. Here are 6 specific ways that AP automation can bolster your continuity plans. AP automation provides a central hub for all payment-related files. So you'll want to be able to quickly access any payment-related file with the click of a button. AP automation provides a cloud-based central repository, so you don't have to rely on file cabinets. And because it's in the cloud, anyone can access it from anywhere. Anytime, anywhere access to view and approve invoices. In a manual process, reviewing and approving invoices can take days and include many different approvers. Waiting on approvals slows down the payment process, which could lead to late payments. And the level of difficulty multiplies if you're not in the office. With AP automation, you don't have to be in a specific place to approve invoices and make payments. All you need is internet access, and you can view and approve invoices and payments from your phone or laptop. You can create customized automated workflows. AP automation allows you to create custom workflows with rules and restrictions. This eliminates the hassle of constantly reaching out to different individuals for approvals and provides you with control and visibility over the process. And in case someone is out of the office or unable to work, your AP team can reroute the approvals so business continuity continues as usual. As an added benefit, all historical actions and comments are recorded so the new approver can step in without missing a beat or a detail. Sophisticated reports are just a few clicks away. In a manual process, the AP department would spend a lot of time pulling piles of paper out of file cabinets to get an overall picture of the company's finances. Fortunately, AP automation simplifies the process by providing comprehensive search and reporting tools. This makes it faster and easier to gain data, to get access to data rather, to more strategic business decisions when you're under pressure and don't have access to usual resources. Electronic payments provide easy paper check alternatives. If you're still using paper checks as a payment form, you may well run into trouble during times of crisis. However, with solutions that provide electronic payment options, you can continue paying suppliers even in times where person-to-person delivery of physical checks is not feasible. Lastly, AvidXchange provides service teams that help to improve your supplier relationships. The best automation solutions combine dedicated service teams along with software to keep up with supplier payment preferences. With AvidXchange, you'll have a trusted AP ally who will continue to maintain contact with your suppliers to see how, if at all, their acceptance conditions are evolving, making sure they are receiving your payments and processing them. How will AP automation work with your accounting system? For many financial professionals, this may be the most important question of all, with the accounting or enterprise resource planning or ERP system often viewed as the business's Bible. The short answer is that an automation solution worth your time should be able to integrate with your ERP rather than force a migration to a new central platform. Most automated AP systems can work in tandem with your central ERP, making the systems that you already rely upon the system of record. Accounting systems are essential to optimize accounting and financial operations. It remains your core system of record and centralized source of information across all functions within the finance organization. In today's world of ever-changing business conditions and market disruptions, companies are recognizing that there are benefits to extending the functionality of their ERP by integrating other solutions that focus on specific areas, such as accounts payable. Using your ERP alone to manage your accounts payable may be working for you right now. You're processing invoices, making payments, and compiling reports for your management teams, and even the auditors. But what are you potentially giving up by not integrating with a solution that is solely focused on automating this entire process? AvidXchange provides two automated solutions, invoice automation and payment automation. Our software solutions completely automate your accounts payable and payment processes, liberating your AP from the endless paper chase that's eating up time and money, and replacing it with a digital application that provides you with 24/7 on-demand access. Invoices can be submitted to AvidXchange in three ways: via email, where you as the customer will have a designated email address for suppliers to send invoices electronically. You can scan them yourself into the portal, or you can have them sent to a designated lockbox where AvidXchange will gather and scan into the system twice daily the invoices that are sent to that lockbox. Now, once AvidXchange receives the invoice, they'll extract all the header detail around the invoice and submit that to the invoice application, AvidXchange Invoice. Now, this will initiate an approval on the invoice based on predefined rules, conditions, logic, whatever parameters you've put into place to gauge that process. This screenshot provides an example of the AvidXchange Invoice application. On the left side of the screen, you see the invoice detail, which shows you all the invoice header information keyed in by AvidXchange with the invoice image on the right. At the bottom is where coding takes place. AvidXchange's smart coding tools help populate this information for you, which saves time and reduces the tedious manual aspects of coding. AvidXchange also can use a default GL code. So when you receive an invoice from a specific supplier, 100% of that amount will pre-populate to a specified account code. There's also another feature called Use Previous, whereby the system, quote unquote, remembers how an invoice was previously coded. The subsequent time an invoice is entered, the system will remember the distribution lines associated with this particular supplier and the supplier account number combination. This is a flow diagram that illustrates the AvidXchange payment solution, AvidPay, and its process, which is a full service offering that includes intuitive software to give you and your team control over payment approvals and full visibility into all of your payments. AvidXchange also provides a service component, people, to help reduce manual tasks that take up a lot of your accounting staff's time. It all starts with the review of your accounting system and selecting those payments that you are ready to make on the network. You're going to use the same cash decision process that you would today. Now, for those organizations that have check signers or dual signers, depending on the amount, you can set those workflows up to review all payments before the funds withdrawn requested is submitted and we start the payment process. So this is sort of the electronic equivalent of two signatures on the check, if you will. So the money gets pulled from your bank account, and there are three ways the supplier can get paid, which I'll describe here in this screen. But just be aware that there are service teams that follow the first 30 days. I'd like to address the power of the AvidXchange network. As a software process, AvidXchange is the trusted ally of more than 600,000 businesses in the supplier network. There is a 300 plus member supplier services team that's here to help you. There are three payment options, and I'll start with the virtual card. There's a MasterCard virtual card payment option where suppliers receive payments by email within 1 business day after payment approval. This option delivers a one-time use virtual MasterCard every time an invoice is approved for payment. The next method I'll describe is Avid Pay Direct, where suppliers receive direct deposit within 3 days after payment approval into your supplier's bank account, and your supplier will receive remittance detail via email for simple reconciliation at the end of the process. Finally, AvidXchange can also send a check to your supplier, where they will receive that check within 7 to 10 business days after payment approval. With that, I'd like to pass it back to Jolene for a quick poll and to start our Q&A. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daryl. We'll now open it up for questions and we'll launch our poll. If you have any questions, please enter them into the questions section of GoToWebinar. We'll give that a minute in case any come through. And just a reminder, we will hold a raffle after the webinar for a $50 Amazon gift card. To be entered into the raffle and to see a customized demo of AvidXchange, please select I'd like to see a customized demo of AvidXchange. And it does look like we have a few questions that came through during the presentation. The first is, how do you get my vendors up and running? Do you reach out to my vendors?
Yes, there is a services team with more than 300 members that will facilitate the supplier payments as well as vendor onboarding. So they walk your vendors through enrollment, discuss the available payment options, and then contact them when needed so that any issues that need to be cleared up is done through the payment team. And that significantly reduces the number of status calls, for example, that you might receive.
Wonderful. And then we have a second. Can I send all of my vendor payments through AvidXchange Pay?
Yes, you can. And it's AvidXchange's intent to accommodate all of your vendor payments. Now, having said that, only the payments that you select or request be paid by Avid will be paid by Avid. Examples of payments that you may ultimately want to retain and execute yourself are payments related to employee reimbursements, wire payments, interoffice or intercompany reimbursements, dividends to shareholders, and cross-border payments, as well as employee payroll payments.
We have another. Can I still print checks?
Yes, and we understand there are times that you'll still need to print checks in-house, and so there is a self-managed payment option that enables you to do that.
We have another. How do you pay vendors like Convey?
Utility payments are made like any other. There are typically going to be fewer of those, in lower volume, but they're not unique in how they get paid. So they can be paid with any one of those three methods that we talked about, whether it's a virtual card, direct deposit, or a check.
All right, we have another. Will my invoice approval process need to change?
No, it doesn't have to change, but it can if you wanted to. And what I mean by that is the intent is to create a digital representation of your manual process, but we want to do that without baking in any inefficiencies. So that does present an opportunity for you to change the process if you need to, because as an example, in the electronic approvals world, it should take less time to go through an approval than it would to manually approve it or go through the approvals process, having to route it manually to the different people who have to execute that approval.
Right, and how do you capture my vendors' invoices?
Invoices are captured in multiple ways. They can email them to an email alias that will be set up specifically for you. They can mail them if they're hard copy, physical invoices, paper-based invoices, to a PO box or a lockbox that's dedicated to you. Or for that matter, if you have that invoice in your hand, you can scan it into the portal and then it'll go through its paces that way.
What is the difference between AvidXchange and a document management solution?
Well, document management's primary goal is to create and save a document that was on paper, to digitize it and put it into a database where it's easy to search and retrieve documents. But AP Automation's primary goal is to replace the manual steps in the process with technology. So replacing things like opening mail and manual data entry, manually routing for approvals, et cetera. And so the outcome is that you save a lot of time and effort that used to be spent on the manual processes. And now you've freed up time to, again, focus on more strategic issues.
And we have one more. Is there a limit to the number of users that can use the solutions?
There is not. You can have an unlimited number of users access the application through the portal. It's transaction based. So it's more about how many invoices and payments are being processed in a given month. But there's no seat licenses or concurrent user models. It's just a matter of how many transactions you execute. And again, you can have an unlimited number of people accessed through the portal.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Daryl, for your informative presentation and for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you.
Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.